Hello, Denis Fedorov here. Today I am starting a series of videos about Russian cases. And the whole Russian grammar cases is the topic people ask about the most. Of course, cases are so popular only because on the reason that when starting to learn Russian grammar, you usually start out with the nouns unit where you first encounter these Russian cases. So Russian grammar gladly and hospitably opens its arms before you with cases, and many people find them overwhelmingly hard, hostile. So, in this upcoming series of videos, I'm going to explain you how to learn these Russian cases. I know this is an important topic which I always get questions about. Now it's time to cover it. And yes, Russian cases cannot be considered as easy, but they surely don't necessarily have to be that hard when you're doing things right. And in this video, I am going to start helping you with this. Let's start. To learn cases, first let me provide in this video some subconscious and natural understanding what these Russian cases are. Before presenting the advanced information, I need you to understand the very basics, to understand the concept of cases. Because when you understand the essence of cases, many of your questions just go away. The idea of cases is often very difficult for an English speaker to grasp, since you do not use cases very much in English. So let me first present one important idea to provide a natural understanding of cases and to show one crucial difference between the Russian language and the English language. So, how to create a sentence? Basically, there are only three ways to create a sentence from several isolated words. Let's take for understanding examples from the English language so you could understand everything easily. And these words: I, me, write, letter, editor. The first instrument is the word order. By placing words in their logical order, we can get this: I write letter, me editor, or me editor, write letter I. And using the word order, we can basically understand the info from the sentence. But not in full. In these examples, the word order was not enough to convey the thought, because of this ambiguity. It's either the editor writes the letter or it's me who writes. A confusion is taking place. The second instrument is the additional words. I write a letter to me editor. If before we had two variants to form a sentence and those variants were quite opposite, thanks to the preposition to, we were able to identify who is writing to whom. Thanks to adding additional words, now the thought is complete, but not in full. The third tool is the alteration of the word. I wrote a letter to my editor. So now, thanks to this transformation of the verb write, we can convey a tense and indicate that the action did actually happen. Before we were thinking about the present tense, but that actually took place in the past. And for the sentence to be clearer, we also transformed me to my to clarify possession. So without this word alteration tool, we were unable to convey the proper tense in this example. So, using these three instruments, word order, additional words, and word alteration, we were able to conclude the sentence. These three instruments are used both in Russian and English, but each of these instruments have a different influence and role in our languages. Probably your main instrument in English to form a sentence is the word order. Patient pays doctor, doctor pays patient. For an English speaker, this way to position words seems obvious, but in other languages, and Russian is one of them, literally, if to translate word by word, patient pays doctor and doctor pays patient can mean exactly the same. So in Russian, we can use both these word orders to convey exactly the same thought, each one of the presented. Adding additional words, mostly prepositions, is also a very important tool in English to form sentences. The doctor gave medicine to the patient. Except for the word order, here you mostly identify who gave medicine to whom with the preposition to. In Russian, we would not use any to here, plus the word order can be even reversed, as I've explained before. The third tool is the word alteration. You can change words themselves to convey information in a sentence. Woman in the room, women in the room. In this example, the word woman gets transformed. And thanks to this, we know that before there was just one woman, and now there are more than one. Also, ending s indicates plural form like girl, girls, or boy, boys. That were examples of word alteration mechanism. In English, you do not use this word alteration tool that much, at least it's not the main one to make sentences, but in Russian it's the main tool, and case is just a mechanism that exists within this word alteration tool. Basically, cases mechanism means transforming words themselves depending on the situation. In English, you also use cases like adding s to the word to form a possessive like Mary's apartment, or you also transform words like we do in Russian like I, me, mine, or who, whose. So in English you also use cases but much less than we do in Russian. So in English, to make sentences understandable, the main instrument would be the word order, then adding other auxiliary words like prepositions, and only then word alteration. In Russian, the picture looks exactly reversed. First comes this word alteration, then adding words, then word order. And cases are an essential part of this word alteration mechanism. So, generally, cases are just one of the tools of this word's alteration mechanism, not the only tool. There will be conjugation, tenses, changing of endings, of suffixes and prefixes, word transformation. So, learning Russian grammar is mostly about the word's alteration, and cases are just a first step, and there will be more steps. And cases are considered to be that hard by beginners only because they come first in the Russian grammar, and the idea of cases is very new for beginners. So you should be prepared that words are going to be transformed a lot. Be prepared for it and roll up your sleeves and start developing this skill of word alteration. That's what Russian grammar is about, and cases is the step one in this adventure. Okay, generally cases show the role a word plays in a sentence. They show the relationship between words. By words, I mean nouns, pronouns, adjectives, numerals, and participles. These 5 parts of speech have such characteristic as a case. However, usually in textbooks, you'll often find that only nouns, pronouns, and adjectives have cases. English authors in their textbooks often exclude numerals and participles from this cases list, probably in order to not overcomplicate things, because the thing is that you learn them later and do not need to know that in the beginning. So for beginners, learning cases is about learning cases of nouns plus pronouns and adjectives. So let's get to Russian, and here is an example of a case. In the English sentence, Peter sees Paul. It is the word order alone that shows that Peter is the subject, the one who sees, and Paul is the object, the one who is seen. In Russian, the relationships between words are indicated by their endings, no matter what word order is used. In Russian, Peter sees Paul is Peter видит Пола. So Peter stays the same as he is the subject, and Paul gets this a in the ending because he is an object in a different case. So here we use the same word order, and actually there is some good news for you that in Russian we mostly use the same word order as you use in English. However, here we could also say instead of Peter видит Пола, Пола видит Peter. So The ending "a" shows the role of the word in the sentence. That's why we can use different word orders. And in this example, we literally reversed the word order, but the meaning stayed exactly the same because of cases. So, the main thing about cases is that endings change according to the case. And this changed ending shows us the role of the word in the sentence. That's why a word order is not that important in Russian. So there are 6 cases in Russian, and each case adds an implication to the word by slightly changing it, by changing its ending. The nominative case is the main default case, so the words listed in dictionaries are in this case. It basically shows us who or what is performing the action of a verb. The main acting figure. The plane is flying, самолет летит. Here the plane will be in this nominative case. The genitive case is basically a Russian way of saying of. We do not have a preposition of in Russian, so the genitive case indicates possession and is also used when talking about quantities. So it replaces of. A glass of water, стакан воды. Here water will be in this genitive case and the glass will be in the nominative default case. The dative case shows us the indirect object, the person or thing that is shown, told, explained something. Its basic meaning lies within the English prepositions to and for. Мальчик купил цветы девочке. The boy bought flowers for the girl. The boy is in the nominative default case here because he is the one who is doing the action, a subject. And the girl will be in the dative case because she is the indirect object. The flowers will be in the next case in our list, the accusative case, because they are the direct object. So the accusative case basically shows us the direct object, the person or thing that has an action done directly to it. So there are a direct object in the accusative case, which is influenced directly by the main subject in the nominative case. And there is an indirect object in the dative case, which is influenced indirectly, often through this direct object. Then comes the instrumental case, which is used to describe the means by which an action is performed. For example, by playing with a pen, or to describe accompanying stuff, but also in this with context, like with a friend. By plane will be самолетом, with a pen will be ручкой, with a friend will be с другом. These were all nouns in the instrumental case. The last prepositional case is used in phrases which indicate position, and specifically with the Russian prepositions в, in, at, and на, on, at. В офисе, in the office. На крыше, on the roof. These are the examples of the prepositional case. So, to give you in all cases in one sentence example, let's construct some sentence. Of course, it's going to be a weird one because it's hard to construct a sentence with all the cases in it. So, a man was sitting on the porch of the house with the dog, and then they decided to go to the butcher to buy a bone. Мужчина сидел на крыльце дома с собакой, а потом они решили пойти к мяснику, чтобы купить кость. So, мужчина, a man, will be in the nominative case, the default case, because he is the subject. He is doing the action of the verb. He is sitting. Then, на крыльце, on the porch. It's obviously the prepositional case because here the position is indicated. Дома, of the house. It is in the genitive case because this case is a Russian way of saying of. Then will be с собакой, with the dog. Here you see this with context, which means it's the instrumental case. Они, they, will be in the nominative case because that's the subject in the nominative plural, which shows who's performing an action. The action here is that they decided to go. К мяснику, to the butcher, will be in the dative case because that will be an indirect object. Кость, a bone, will be in the accusative case because that will be a direct object. So this was a quick overview of these 6 cases in Russian. We shall talk about cases later in other videos in more details, and this video was mostly about to make you understand cases, why they are needed and how they are used. A few moments ago I really hope that you got this idea in big strokes, how to choose a case. And then to alter the word into some specific case, we slightly change it. We change the word's ending, and vice versa. To understand which case is used, we look at the word's ending. Hope this video has helped you to understand the basics of cases. And see you later in the next video about the Russian cases. Thank you for attention.